Cutie creatures. Cutie creature.
Hello!
Are you kitty?
Oh, bless you. Today I have my little sproglet here.
Cuckoo.
He's reached the grand old age of almost 3 weeks old, so about 2.5 weeks. In today's video, I'm going to try my best to make whole sentences and provide some advice, basically. Tips that I wish I'd known when dealing with a newborn, and ideas and things that hit me and really have helped me in these sleepless 2 weeks or so. This is basically in response to the amazing feedback that I got for my birth vlog. Lots of people reached out to me and asked me for tips and tricks. So I'm going to provide it here. They're just kind of like things to think about when you're having a newborn, because for me, I did not even think about after the labour. For me, at the end of the 3rd trimester, it was all about getting through the labour, getting through the delivery of the baby and just like surviving, which I did, gladly. Then I was kind of like, oh, right, now I have a teeny tiny baby. What do I do? So I'm figuring all these things out. I strongly support the idea that motherhood, or parenthood I should say, is like the most important job in the whole entire world. But yet that's the one thing where you don't get any textbook or guidebook or anything like that. So this is kind of like my ideas. Maybe you can take some, maybe you can tweak some and change them to the way that works for you. But this is just some stuff that's been really, really helpful for me. Okay, so this first thing is something that the hospital actually taught me. So in my other video, I talk about how in Japan, I was able to stay for 5 days in the hospital. I was taken very good care of, and I was also taught so many things, like how to change a nappy, because I did not know how to do that. And one of the things that they asked me to do whilst I was there was to record whenever he breastfed, whenever he was given formula. I'm doing both, and more on that later. But yeah, whenever he weed, whenever he pooed. And I really, really like that idea, because it makes me feel like now I'm still writing down whenever he poos, wees, and whenever he feeds and for how long he feeds. And for me, that's just a really nice way of knowing like how much he's drinking, how much he's growing, because the difference between week 1 and week 2 is like double, if not more. It's crazy how hungry they get. I basically feel like I'm a milk machine, like I'm feeding him until I can feed no more, and then I resort to formula. But yeah, anyway, back to my main point. So writing down whenever they go to the toilet, or whenever you change their nappy, and whenever they eat, is just a really helpful way of getting to know your baby's rhythm. Obviously, as a newborn, there's no like sleep cycle, there's no particular rhythm as such, but it just helps you to feel a bit more in control of things. Like, oh my god, when did I last feed him? It's nothing like that. So you just jot stuff down around about the time you did these things. And for me, that just gives me like a really nice reassurance of like, okay, like I've changed his nappy this many times today, or okay, he's done a poo like every day, just things like that. It adds peace of mind for me. Another thing I would suggest, this is like particularly for the women who have just given birth as opposed to the birth partners, but I would say don't compare yourself, because every single person has their own pregnancy journey, labor story, their own way that they want to raise their child. You know, some women are really strongly pro breastfeeding, other women don't really care as long as the child eats. Everyone has their own priorities and ideas for how they want to raise their baby, and in that sense, you just can't compare yourself to anyone else. It's only going to stress you out. However, I really, really strongly recommend finding someone who's in the same boat as you. So I've been absolutely blessed. I gave birth, and at the same time, my friend was next door in the same clinic, just next door, also giving birth to her baby. And I feel like this woman has just been brought into my life to be that source of support. Now we have our little Christmas babies, pretty much exactly the same age, and it's amazing how supportive she is to me, and I think I am to her. Like, for us to be able to just chat about the babies, but also like our physical conditions, and like the body isn't particularly perfect after it's been battered and bruised with labor. So just to have someone who's going through the same thing, it's such a relief. It's been such a help for me. What's the next point, little chap? Oh no. I guess that brings me to a next point, which is not on my list. When you are feeding, make sure that you've got all your bits and bobs near you. You've got some water, you've got some tissues, you've got this, I don't know, any random stuff that you're going to need, because you just get really snug. And if you move, it's just really, you just don't want to move. So just organize yourself before you start feeding, even if it means like a little bit of cry time. Just organize yourself. Get a little bag and bring it with you whenever you're going to feed. Next point was really, really useful for me. Aim for progress, not perfection. Now, I raise my hands. I am a big perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect. And I would say that since having the baby, I've been editing YouTube videos, like publishing videos, doing online lessons for my students. I've been cleaning the house, going shopping every day, walking and like taking the baby out and taking care of the baby like as much as I possibly can without going absolutely insane and completely sleep deprived. So I have taken a lot on. I think I do kind of like push myself. And the thing is, like, I think I'm Superwoman, or I aim to be Superwoman anyway, and then I'm getting all these things done, but at the end of the day, I'm so exhausted that I'm a total, well, I'm not very good company, should we say, and I take it out on the person that I love the most, you know, my husband. Yeah, so I think it's about knowing your balance, knowing where the limit is. And I think that learning and making mistakes are actually the same thing. So I, as a perfectionist, I like to avoid making any mistakes. I want to do everything perfectly. But I realize in this motherhood adventure, I'm going to make mistakes. Like, I've never done it before. How am I going to do it perfectly? And none of us are going to do it perfectly, even if it's our 7th or 8th baby. So allowing yourself to make mistakes, I think, is a hugely important part of parenthood. And then looking at that mistake, reflect and say, do I want to bring that mistake from today into the day ahead? Do I need to keep that with me? Just learning from your mistakes and giving grace to yourself. You don't need to beat yourself up for not being perfect at a job that you've never ever done before and no one's taught you how to do. That kind of like ties me into the next point. You have to give yourself what you need, because if your tank is empty, you just can't provide for others in the way that you want to. There's going to be moments when you're taking care of a baby or a child where it's just easier to give them what they need and to not think about yourself. So basically, if you don't give yourself the rest that you need or anything that you need, you're gonna kind of just start like kind of going downhill. If you need to have a nap, if you need to ask someone to come and help to clean the house, if you need to go for a massage, arrange for your birth partner to take care of the baby and go off for a while. Give yourself those things and don't feel any less of a superwoman for doing that, because like you've just brought a baby into the world. Like you are a superwoman. I think motherhood is about staying on your own side. Don't beat yourself up for doing something wrong. Support yourself, not only by your physical things, getting enough rest, walking around the park and breathing in nature, but also like mentally as well. Remind yourself, like, I'm doing my best. That's all you can do, right? That's all you can do. A little bit. Okay, the next one is embrace doing things differently. Things will just not be the same. Timings will just not be the way that you might have expected them to be. The time is not dictated by where the hands are on the clock. The time is dictated by baby, and when baby needs to eat, and when baby needs to sleep, and when baby is just grizzly and stuff. Like, kudos to the ladies who juggle having a baby and working. I mean, amazing. Next thing, trust those maternal instincts. Absolutely amazing. I was never much of a baby person. People are like, oh my God, look at that cute baby. And I'm like, but you're adorable. Yes. So yeah, I was never much of like a huge, oh my gosh, I think babies are super cute, but everything has shifted. He is my world. I adore him. When he cries in the night, I don't wake up thinking, oh my God, like, can he just be quiet? I mean, obviously I'd rather stay asleep, but the truth is, when you have a baby, or you get all these different feelings, and it's like, I want to provide for my baby, I want to take care of my baby, and if that means feeding him at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, I guess that's what happens. I just think it shifts your mentality, and I am a pretty selfish person. I like things a certain way, but with him now, everything's changed. By the way, if you hear any strange fart noises, definitely Mr. Stinky Pants over here. Anyway, yeah, so trust those maternal instincts. They will tell you so much information that you could Google, but to be honest, everyone's different. So it's easier to trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the more you'll understand. Like when he cries like this, he wants his nappy changed, or this is his routine, or like anything like that. Just listen to yourself. This morning, he was really grizzly. I fed him, I changed him, he was still grizzly. So I took him for a walk, and that's exactly what he needed. And nobody told me that. I could have Googled it, but I would have been wading through other people's stories and ideas and suggestions and advice. So whilst the internet is very useful on occasion, do listen to yourself firstly and foremostly. This might sound really stupid. My next one is like, babies cry. They do, they cry. I think I spent the first few days kind of panicking whenever he'd whimper or cry, and it's like, oh my God, I have to stop the crying. But sometimes they just do. You don't need to stress yourself out trying to stop the crying. Just allow yourself that time to understand, okay, this cry means that he's got a full nappy and he needs changing. And then this cry is just because he just needs a bit of attention. This one's like, oh, he's hungry. Allow that relationship between you and your baby to blossom by using your instinct, and don't panic about the crying. Stay calm and just try to solve the problem. Why is my baby crying, and what can I do to solve this? As opposed to just like blind panic, quick, what do we do? Feed him quickly. When actually feeding him might not be the answer. He might just have wind and need a bit of a cuddle and a pat on the back. Oh, okay, so yeah, one thing that was just, it's allowed me to sleep. Somehow my husband and I have fallen into this shift business. Usually I'm up really early, and then I have him for the entire day. So around 8 o'clock, like honestly, 7 or 8 o'clock, I'm exhausted. My husband says to me, he's like, go to bed, I'll take care of the baby. And for me, I just need to get enough rest, and so that I can give fully and stay positive. Because having a baby is like a sanity test. So yeah, splitting shifts has been so helpful. So I'm very, very grateful to my husband. I was going to tell you about the breastfeeding / formula situation. So the midwife suggested that we use some formula, and I never really thought that I would be someone who judged either way. I always said, whatever way you feed your baby is great. But I found, like, since having him, I have this like really overprotective urge to breastfeed him. And every time it's like a suggestion of formula, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to use it. But it has actually been really, really helpful, because when my nipples feel like they're going to fall off, my husband can just swoop on in there and say, don't worry, I've got this. Or if I'm like trying to do cooking, I've got baby in one hand and like chopsticks in the other, and it's just too much. So for the fact that my husband can take him off my hands and give him some formula, and we both know that he's getting enough, that's really reassuring. From the first feed of the day, probably around 3 a.m. usually, until 4 or 5 p.m, I feed him by the breast. And then after about 5, my nipples feel like they're gonna fall off. I'm tired. I've literally been sitting here since 2 o'clock, him having little naps and then demanding feeds. So it's like a full-time job. I'm a milk machine. I think at this age as well, like, they don't just want feeding, but I think it's this closeness. It's having mummy time or daddy time, cuddles, warmth, and it is a very bonding moment for both mum and baby. But also with formula, you can have that lovely time. They look into your eyes, you're feeding them, you're nourishing them, you're taking care of them. I think it's a really beautiful time, and I think both partners should try to be involved in that. Maybe whilst the woman is breastfeeding, the husband or partner can be there and kind of get involved a little bit. My husband and I did that earlier, and it was just a really nice moment, like, for the whole family, because this is another thing, your relationship, prioritizing your partner changes. You've got this little being who you're both completely head over heels in love with, and you prioritize your new being because he's the neediest. So yeah, do expect changes, but don't panic or don't think, oh my God, why has it changed? Like, it's changed because your life has changed, and give it time. Try not to bite your husband / person's head off. But also at the same time, for the birth partners, who has just supported your partner giving birth and having a baby, do be patient, because I mean, your girl's been through so much and it's tough. It's really tough. Pregnancy, labor, motherhood, it's not always an easy ride. Let's just say it like that. So just be patient. I'm just so grateful that my husband can be patient. He's the most patient person in the world, like seriously. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that, because that's avoided us so many arguments or bickering and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyway, this is an exceedingly long video. Also, I've just caught my hair. Like, I've just done an entire, I'm just gonna publish this video now, because despite looking like I do, I'm not gonna record that all over again just because his hair is hanging out. So thank you for watching this video. I do hope it was helpful. Please continue leaving your lovely comments. I was so shocked and like pleasantly surprised how much positive feedback I had from the videos. I feel really supported by you. So thank you so much. All right, we're gonna go and change stinky nappies now. Thank you so much for watching. Say thank you. And until next time, bye. Say bye.
Are you kitty kitty?